you give me?
Thank you.
So why did you, how did you discover the camouflage?
Yeah, the camouflage. I don't know exactly. I don't know how it comes in the very beginning, you know, like why, like I just attracted to that. But it was also like very interesting, like a concept, because when we are talking about the camouflage, like a camouflage in general, well, for example, when we are talking about the animals, what is this? It has a very funny name in Norwegian. The one that is going into the colors of...
Kameleon?
Yeah, chameleon. Yeah. For example, when we are talking about the animals like that, they are doing camouflage or camouflage like a military, it means that you're mimicking your environment. So you're walking and then you see, oh, it's here. So then you're changing your identity into the identity of the space. And that's our example. For example, when we want to say in Farsi that somebody is very conformist and change a lot, we say that it's like you know, doing this like this funny animal's name. Kameleon. But so this is a concept of camouflage, when you're kind of losing yourself into mimicking the others or your environment. But there is in the dazzle razzle camouflage, or this camouflage that I'm working with, it's very interesting because it's not, it has still a very strong, bold identity. It's just black and white, you know, and you're not expecting that it's gonna be lost into their environment, but it's actually distort the way that you understand the environment, or this, you kind of confused you in a way. So it's also for me very interesting that, for example, how you can keep your identity, how you can kind of be yourself, but at the same time you're kind of going under mainstream, doing what you want to do. Is it gonna be power? Is it gonna make you, you know, weaker? So it was some concept that I was very interested to that. But actually, I don't know like how I started with these, I can't like remember what was exactly that moment. But I also like, you know, mirror is also a little bit like that, especially Iranian mirror work, which I grew up, and I don't know if you have seen the picture of that, like this when you have in architecture, when usually when you go to the places like a shrine or even palace, they use a lot of mirror with this pattern that you put over there, or more geometric and more like a kind of pattern of the flower. And then, however, it's mirror and it has their own, but then it's kind of becomes camouflage because you're kind of broken yourself into that image. So I think it also has a kind of background in when I was growing up to see that. So it was, I can't say the exactly when, but yeah. And the coming of that pattern, it was, yeah, because also if you have see the sculpture, it's a way, it looks like that, like a kind of something that you can hide in the back of it, or you can kind of refuge in it in a way, but at the same time it's protect you, but at the same time it's hide you.
Yeah. But it's quite interesting also because you send me some pictures, and you have the person that are dressed and then undressed.
Yeah, yeah.
And
in the video that I'm going to make, yeah.
So is there any similarities between?
Yeah, it's because I thought that, so in this video that you're gonna see, it's like a 4-channel video. In the 2 channel of that film is one that the performer is kind of interacting with this sculpture, which is called the skin. And in a way that's performing with it, hide under it, reveal himself, you know, just do different performances. And in the other one, it looks like that he's without this skin. It's kind of feels, for me, it's like about vulnerability also. That you're exposed, but at the same time you become very visible. You see that what exactly movement he's doing and what is the kind of choreography or dance he's doing it. I don't know, for me it has been always like, apart from camouflage, which comes very much bold into this exhibition, but the idea of visibility, of invisibility, it has been always very interesting, you know, through the performances, through the films, what we can see, what we can't see, but it exists, and what's that day, who this day can be different, you know, can be society, can be a school, can be government, can be politics, can be everything, want us to see, and it's and what they don't want us to see, and then it's and then what we are putting attention to and what we don't, you know, is also so what we are thinking about. So I always very much interested into this concept, and then I think in this exhibition I approach it through the tools of the camouflage, you know, like in a way that talking about this, but the subject that is more interesting for me is just like this concept of visible and invisible, and how we can make the invisible things visible.
Do you have any questions for these three?
Yeah.
Is there something that you wonder about that you would like to
Yeah,
ask?
I would like last years I was trying to go to schools and as a part of my project, and I was also wanted to they talk about that, what they think about visibility and invisibility, what is like has been ever or is the moment that they wanted to become invisible in their situations or in their lives, and then why, and how was regarding if we use the power, was it coming from the moment of power or the weakness, you know, how they were, like what moment it was, what kind of a strategy they used to become, because like camouflage is one strategy, but we have many different strategies that in reality we are kind of using it to kind of hide. So yeah, I don't know if it's the subject that it's interesting for you, or if since last week you started think about that, or if you want to share stories, what you think. Or it's difficult. Or not necessarily that, you know, whatever you want to share.
Blank.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah. I think when I was in the school, I feel that sometimes a lot of the project or works that they were doing, it was very much about bullying. And it was like, I understand that I did not expect, but apparently the bullying was a very big issue in the school. And the gang, you know, because then if you're part of the gang or you're not, and these feelings of that, how they put you aside, that's very painful in a way, you know. That was some of the feedbacks that, for example, like a performances that the students work on, that was a lot about these issues. And that's also interesting, because for me one of the interesting stories is that the origins of or inspiration of this dazzle camouflage, which is strangely used in military, not strangely, but originally used in military, it comes from the zebras. And this it's also, for me, it's very interesting about the collectivity, you know, like, because zebra has this stripe, right? But it's not gonna work when it's only one zebra, because then still the hunter can understand the zebra and can attack. But when there is a big bunch of zebras and then they are together, then you really see this dazzle camouflage pattern, and that confused the lion or other hunters, because then you don't know where is the front and where is the end of one animal that you can could an attack. And for me it was interesting to see that, like, look at it from the collective perspective, you know, like what is the power also, what is the power of the collectivity, or how we can be together and think about these strategies of being visible or not visible. But at the same time, when I was looking at the school, this gang culture is also different version of the way of the collective behavior. So, yeah.
And also maybe to hide in the gang also. If it's safe, even though you don't agree on maybe what's been done in the gang. It's safer to follow or to be attached to a group. Yeah. Yeah. Do we have another question?
Okay.
Live.
Yay.
Yay, Live. What's going on your
It's
paper?
a long question.
It's a long question.
As you can see, folding it out. It's kind of what we've been talking about. But we also see that you use hard and soft materials as well as strong colors. The question is why? It's an open question.
I like, it's nice that you put it hard and soft. Maybe I didn't think about that, but yeah, there's a lot of binary and duality, right? Visible, invisible, hard, soft, But in general, I'm not that much interested in the binary thinking, I'm more like the fluidity between that. And also I like very much the space that it can happen in betweenness, and the possibilities. And maybe that's also, I don't know if it's answer your question or not, because some of these choices are not becomes like a very rational choices rather than embodied choices in a way that, comes from because we not everything that we understand only with thinking, but also with bodying and body and experiencing and background and history. So maybe it's also like a kind of, I am interested to see when I kind of bring these two ends of materiality together, what they are creating in between or in the middle. I remember that actually this pattern of the triangle and what you are seeing and mirror work it has a very kind of old history in me, like in a way. Like in the back, it was one of the first kind of forms and materials that I came to. And that was like when I almost finishing my bachelor in Tehran. And I was again referring to architecture because you have been maybe in Iran, you have seen when you go, for example, to Isfahan, we have something that they call it muqarnas, I think you call it in English. And muqarnas is something that comes like that out in the corner of the architecture. Very much if I forms my sculpture, you're gonna see more or less the same. And that's inspired by a stalagmite and a stalactite. Or I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct. The one that you see in the cave, right?
Yeah.
So that is something that came into the architecture, and then you see it not only in the mosque, like I'm referring to the mosque and shrine, not as a place by the religious weight of it, but it's a place that they has put a lot of energy on the architecture. And so and then for me it was at that time, I remember that I started to create some kind of forms that it was like this stalagmite and stalactite, and then I was made very much inspired by muqarnas from the metal, and I used soft what is that called in Norwegian? This pants, this tight,
Strømpebukse?
No, it's not. Well, it's very
tight?
much
But
very
it's
much.
something you wear?
Yeah, but in a very fragile and nice way. I know that
Norway.
Norway.
Strømpe?
Pantyhose, right?
Yeah, because
Nylonstrømpe.
here is a cold, so you need this very woolly one. But like I was like the ones that has a pattern of the flower, and it's like looks very feminine. So I was kind of merging this metal, which or geometry that it looks masculine in a way, and then kind of cover it with this very feminine material. And then it was also interesting to see when it's ripped, when it's kind of a stay, when it's soft in it. So that's kind of a strategy or tactic with the different materiality. It has been very much towards the back, but then it comes in a very different way. You know, sometimes as bold as that, and then sometimes as subtle as maybe here. Sometimes you see. But I don't know. That maybe also has doing something with my background, my education. I don't know. Maybe a person from outside can see it better than me. Of these different textures. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Skal jeg røre litt?
Yeah.
Ja.
That's a good idea. To see what it is
Så den
like.
ikke setter seg fast igjen. Ja, ikke sant?
And also maybe you can taste it.
Maybe some of you should taste it.
I had a COVID last year, and then it still hasn't backed completely my taste.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Wow.
I am really
So
like a
really
blind cooking.
So you had it really badly then?
Oh yeah, that was very bad. It wasn't last February.
Yeah, I have questions. Jeg er empty.
Are you empty?
Yeah.
Okay, you can pick.
Okay, I'm closing. We can do it. Okay.
So, how do you want your art to be perceived by the
Oh,
audience?
that was not a good question. No, I actually am very much wants that everybody perceive my artwork by their own interpretation and background. Because as I said, you know, like this is here, I might read it in a different way because like it's related to how I grew up, what I have seen, where I have gone, and then gone through, and then maybe somebody else see it in different way. So I really want that people also a little bit feel free and understand that like in the very first hand there is no wrong and right, and the way that they are approaching is right. But also what I like is that they try to kind of be critical and talk about like even very critical about what they are perceiving, ask question, and try to just also comment, which I would like a lot and which I see a bit less here. Because like, for example, when I was a study or when we go to the gallery in Iran, we were like very much talking. It doesn't mean that we don't like the artist or we are not a good friend or we hate that person, but we were very critical after opening and no, but it doesn't like this. You know, like we had this very this kind of very conversation that from outside maybe heard very tough, but it opened up a lot of conversation and thoughts and feedbacks and even more works, you know, like. But here it's a very nice politeness and very nice positivity that they want to bother you. So then they are not saying that, okay, even if your work is not interesting or it doesn't perceive the way or it doesn't communicate. I think it's nice to always talk about that or even think about that, you know. And I think as an artist I become very grateful when I get a feedback, because most of the time we want to kind of have some ideas, but it might be not successful, you know. Of course, as I said, there is no wrong and right. I still can work the way that I want, and the people can understand it the way that they want. But it's also nice when we are talking about it, you know, and the question comes, and then I will tell you a story, and then you might tell me another story, and yeah. So that's how I like that they perceive. Maybe we're gonna have another soup in the opening, so people can sit and talk. Yeah. You have seen some of the works actually upstairs or here by the wall. Maybe you want to a little bit also see that, what is resemble in your head. What do you think about that? I feel like.
Now?
Yes.
Yeah, why not?
I feel like I've mentioned it, but think it's just interesting and fun with what you were talking about with the zebras and how kind of this, in my mind, when Henriette showed us the pictures and was like, here it's kind of like camouflage, I was like, how is that? In my mind, it goes like completely to like the Norwegian military and the green and the like we camouflage with like earth colors trying to hide in the woods. So like this kind of liney art was kind of not what I was thinking of with camouflage. But it was an interesting new approach and like interesting to know that they actually used it in like during war to camouflage themselves. I'm just learning. I think it's fun when you learn something new, going to see art, and then you read often I can read something about the artist and the art, and then you like learn something new.
It was very fun things because after the, it was in World War I, so it was even the radar and that kind of technology hasn't been, so it was just like they use it with vernacular. And then that was really confused when they wanted to have especially the ships, they use it a lot in the Navy. And then when it's World War II comes and the radar comes and technology, updated, then we thought that, okay, that's the time of this is over. But interestingly, it has come back some years back, and it comes through the makeup because when in Hong Kong, they started to use surveillance cameras to kind of find the protester. Then people wanted to kind of hide from the CCTVs. And then to try different strategies. One of the strategies was that, okay, like you use the mask and the hat, but still apparently they could identify like with this face recognition. So they tried to see that if we learn a little bit from dazzle camouflage and we start to using a special makeup, then we can confuse. And then some people suggested, we don't know, like of course AI and the surveillance and that kind of technology unfortunately is it's developed day by day, but what they suggest that if, for example, we use not symmetry but asymmetry in the faces with the hair, or we have pretend that we have some black and white pieces here, so then it's kind of a little bit confused. They might not understand us as a human, Well, then later the surveillance motion recognition came, but that was like from some years ago. So it was also interesting that, if you have a technique or a tactic, then you can also update it to the different settings and context,
I have my last one here. How do you use form to draw us into your world?
How I use?
Form, like shapes and stuff.
Yeah.
To draw us into your creative world.
I think it just comes, I think people from outside see my works a lot, also resemble like a design. What I like is that what kind of inspiration we can get, for example, mostly from our public spaces. And there is certain shapes that we see a lot in public spaces, like these triangles, the round, the stick, And for me it was interesting that how, because I'm usually very much interested in public spaces in general. And then I'm just thinking that how they kind of define the public space and forms for us. For example, they said that this is a slide, the form as a form, just think about that. And you can now slide on it because we are in a playground, and then you know that these forms means that things. But what I'm interested is that what if, and I think that I have seen that kids do a lot of those things. They don't need that somebody come and say them that what that forms resemble in which places, what means what, you know. Like for example, they use the bicycle stands to do as like a gym workout, you know, or that kind of things. And I think that's kind of approach that I like to do. So that's why I'm also inspired a lot about the forms that I see in the everyday life, or the material that you see, like a mirror, for example. Mirror is a very everyday life, or fabric is a very everyday life. And fabric has been always with me as a material, not as a form, but it was just also something. And I think about the form is also the same. But I think I'm not sure if the starting point for me is the form. I think the concept, it's more a starting point, and then the forms comes along. Yeah. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
If it helps, I didn't write it, so.
yeah.
Oh, good.
And then I had a question. You already talked about it a little bit, but the mirrors
Yeah.
and like how the architecture.
Yeah.
And I just wondered about what made you so interested in the mirrors.
Yeah, I think so. That's also the starting point of the mirror. I think it was also the background, and this is a story that I told you. I remember that while growing up, going quite a lot in these shrines and palace with the mirror, and for me it was very interesting because like you could see and you look like that you see yourself thousands of times broken, but at the same time in this architecture as a kid, you know, like growing up. And then later I understand that it has a purpose on that, because they kind of, it's a holy places. They wanted when you're kind of enter, you broke your ego and you become modest, and then you go there. But at the same time, it's like a quantum, you know, like in every single little piece of that, it has part of the whole. So I think the like attracting to mirror comes towards that point of view, rather than like referring to the self and watching myself or something. And also I was very interested with the disco ball and the history of the disco ball with the queer communities, and how they kind of becomes very like a bodily experience of expressing yourself, especially with the marginalized group of queer, black, you know, in places that is also very marginalized. So I think my attraction towards the mirror comes towards that. But I had a joke that I'm telling to all of my Iranian people, and I said that every single Iranian artist has made something with mirror, you know, like with this Iranian mirror work. It has a quite very, very, I think, a strong in our, how do you call it, like a visual library of us that we grow, and it's so beautiful that you cannot just pass it without not want to make it. So it's very, very seductive that, okay, I'm gonna make something, one thing with the mirror and then done. Yeah. Well, actually, I want also to teach myself this very traditional, crafty, also mirror work, because it's just very beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, we noticed on the ones that hanging right at the entrance, so small, the tiny squares.
Yeah.
Have you like been cutting them out?
No,
or?
that was, I bought it ready cut as a roll, but because these are what you use it for disco.
Okay, so they're the same, cool.
Yeah, but for the Iranian mirror work, you have to cut it in a different shape, which is usually triangle.
Okay.
And then and some kind of things. So in the Islamic Iranian geometry, you start from a circle. Circle is the full shape, and through that you're cutting different. You got triangle out of it, stars you got from it, and then all the shapes that comes through that you can kind of mosaic with each other and make these patterns. And with that, so triangle is the simplest one, but there is very more complicated with the star, with the different. And then this mirror is very pixelated, and pixel is something that you see the other work. and there is also some other refers in the exhibition about like a pixel and and I'm very interested in the light and dark because also play with the visibility and invisibility. And what I'm interested about that mirror is this work very fun with the reflection.
Yeah.
And the reflection is also very interesting. Yeah.